Are comic creators supposed to promote the books they're working on? Well, it kind of depends what they want. Let me explain. Hey there, this is Perch. I've hit this, pardon me, I've hit this topic a few times before in one form or another. Usually another video is going on and then I'll kind of wander into this, talk about it for a minute and then wander away and in the way that I do. But I wanted to specifically do a video about promotion. And in this case, comic creators who complain or fans who complain about promotion of books. And what I mean by that is when a creator works on a title, some creators, I think Jim Zub's one who does it pretty famously, will go on Twitter and go on various social media platforms and will promote the book, talk about here's when it's out, here's what you can expect from it, maybe here's some art to share. Another person who I think's done it in the past fairly effectively is Alana Smith. She's an editor, does some of the Avengers books and other things, and she'll also promote the title. So I want to look at both those individuals as separate for the moment. All right, let me throw in. I want to throw in an artist here. Who's a good artist I can point to? Well, let's go with just those two for now. Jim Zub, I think, is as a writer. He is put on a number of books and he works on them, and he sees part of his value chain as not just writing the book, but also going on social media, going online, doing promotion for his books. And typically the promotion you see from him is about what you can expect from the book, who's in it, maybe here's some art, a little bit of excitement, like, hey, can you believe this amazing piece of art? Or maybe even some kind of early hype. People like Scott Snyder will do this. Tom King will do this. Or they'll post a panel, like a single panel, or they'll say something like, I just got in a bunch of pages from the artist and man, it's the best work I've ever seen. And you don't get to see the page, but you're kind of getting this excitement from the writers kind of coming at you. So that's what they do, and that's, I think, reasonable. I think that's something that creators should do, and it helps promote the book. Certainly helps the shop, it helps the readers, it helps everybody to get that kind of information. Now, is it a job requirement? By that I mean, if you're a writer and there's things that are good to do and there's things that are required to do. If you're hired to write a story and then you don't write the story, you turn in nothing, then you failed at a very obvious core requirement for the job. If you write the story but you don't promote it at all, you just you don't go on Twitter and you just do nothing, you haven't failed in your job requirement, but you aren't doing everything you can. And I think this is where there's been an argument and some pushback from some creators around why should I promote the book? Isn't there a giant corporation behind me? Isn't there a marketing team? Probably not. Isn't there this tunnel is noisy as hell today. Isn't there a whole group of people who promote things in the comic? Isn't their job to promote? Why am I having to promote? I get done with a hard day of writing a script and now I've got to turn around, I got to promote my own stuff. It's ridiculous. And, there's truth to that statement. Like I've said before, there is truth to that in that, giant mega distributor, mega publisher corporation does have all those elements. They should have a marketing department that's functional. They should have PR. They should have all these things going on. In a lot of cases, these things aren't working well. I think that's a true statement, certainly in comics, and that these entities exist, but they don't function like they should. That's true. However, this is just kind of practical, pragmatic information about your job. You can do things for your company and you can do things for yourself. And hopefully those two things line up. They overlap a little bit, and you do things for yourself that also benefit the company and it benefits you, and everybody's a winner and life's good. And promotion of a book is like that. So while it's true that it's not in your job description to go out and promote a book, unless you're, really super confident in your job security and your amazing talents as a writer, or maybe you just don't care, it's in your best interest to go out and promote books that you work on, because this builds up you. Forget about the company entirely for a minute. Forget about, any benefit to the Marvel or DC entity here. Think about yourself. from your standpoint, it's in your best interest to get word out on your books. You want to have the reputation of selling a top title book. You want to have the reputation for, bringing fans to the table. It's going to give you more bargaining and negotiating power later. And this is a weird fact that I noticed that a lot of people miss. A lot of creators seem to miss this idea. They're like, well, but there's a whole company that's supposed to do this for me. And there's a whole company that's supposed to do it for themselves. Yes, but not necessarily for you. The company is under no obligation to necessarily promote you unless it aligns with their interests as well. If by promoting if by promoting Jim Zub, Marvel sells more books, then they're going to promote Jim Zub and they're going to happily do it. If there's no benefit to them to promote Jim Zub, then why? I mean, unless they're just, wanting to be a nice company and do nice things for people, why? Why bother? And that sounds kind of cold hearted. And here's where you get to, well, good companies treat their employees well and work hard to, make for a good relationship, and they want to keep talent and all those reasons. And that's why a lot of companies do things to promote employees. They're trying to, retain talent, serve their own marketing needs, on and on it goes. There's lots of reasons why companies should promote and do promote. But you as an individual, you as the worker, should do as much as you can to try and take power into your own hands. And an example of power in this case is promotion. Promote yourself. If you promote yourself, then you're putting control in your own hands. You're getting word out for yourself. You're building your own brand and your own reputation. Those are good things to do for you. And so, it's funny in this whole topic around, promotion and promoting jobs and promoting your comics and everything else. I totally get why it can be aggravating to a creator to feel like the people behind them, the marketing and the promotions department of a corporation, a company, is not doing their job, basically outsourcing it to the creator to just kind of carry that weight. That's annoying. Totally agree. That's not how it should be. That's not how it was intended to be. But that's often the way it's worked out. Now, going to the other person I mentioned, example, the Alana Smith. Alana Smith's an editor. Editors are, I'm very frustrated with editorial. I absolutely am. I have to be cautious, though, because oftentimes things turn into kind of editorial bashing. And I think that's also unfair because editors are overworked. Editors are often put on too many books where they are, they're hired to do a few books, and then suddenly those books multiply, and then suddenly they're doing all kinds of other things. And so it's not fair. A lot of the criticism that comes up around editorial is not fair because if for example, you were criticizing a guy building a house and because he was doing shoddy work, but then you learn the person building the house is assigned or building 20 houses simultaneously in the time when most normal people would agree it's they can do one house, maybe two houses, and they're assigned to 20. You can certainly say, hey, you still should be doing quality work. It's this doesn't excuse doing shoddy work. You can certainly say that fairly, but at the same time, you have to wonder how this person got in that position in the first place. And I think right now with editorial, and editorial gets just trashed on an almost daily basis on social media and YouTube and other things with Marvel and DC. We all save a little bit of that anger, a little bit of that trashing, if you will, to the fact that somebody inside the company is assigning these editors to way too many titles, to way more work than they are capable of doing. That they're hiring people in with very, very limited experience. They're not training them. And then they're like, well, hope for the best. And off it goes. These are all true statements. So, I mean, certainly, I think somebody missing, obvious misspellings and just crap work, that's, we can say that's bad work. Yes, not making any excuses for that. But we also have to wonder how this person get into that position in the first place. And, is there a systemic problem inside the company where people are being overstretched, overcommitted? And the answer is yes. I mean, just zero doubt about it. Yes. So where does all this land? So I've mentioned Alana Smith earlier. Alana Smith's an editor. She does promotion of the books. She's blocked a ton of people, which is for her position, I think, even worse in some cases than the creator, because part of her job is, unlike the creator, part of her job is to represent the company in some cases, in a lot of cases. And so the responsibility for doing some PR and marketing and promotion does fall more heavily on her shoulders. She has stuff to do. Now, to her credit, outside the blocking business, she does. She does promote things, I'd say, on a reasonable basis, and she seems to do it, reasonably well. She doesn't have a ton of experience in terms of her career. I think if you think about, and this is the thing that always boggles my mind with editors and people in marketing, a lot of people at Marvel and DC, is you have these billion-dollar properties, and it's billion with a B. I mean, at the same time, you've got kind of Avengers Endgame and other things going out making, more money than any other movie, billions of dollars, and you've got the merchandising and you've got all these other aspects to the book, and yet you're putting, Alana Smith on several of these titles. And again, nothing against her, but you do wonder, like, if you were in a financial institution or tech or biotech or other things, you're dealing with billion-dollar properties and kind of how they're represented in the market, you would have a bigger team. You would have a lot more training and support. You wouldn't just say, hey, here's somebody with, less than 8 years of experience. Let's toss them on a book. Why not? What could go wrong? You wouldn't do that. You would have much more protection around the title. And I think I'll say a positive thing. To her credit, I think Alana Smith shows up to work and does promote things and put stuff out, which is more than a lot of her peers do. And so, good. I mean, great. It's good for the direct market. It's good for the readers. It's good for the fans. This is good, solid behavior, what you would expect the person in the job to do. Who told her to do that? It's a mystery. Who knows? I mean, did Heather Antos, before she left, help, tell her to do this? Because, Heather Antos, to her credit, also did a decent level of promotion, not nearly at the level of what I've seen Alana Smith do. But, there's stuff there. I just wonder. And I think, we've explored the topics of why some of the behavior we've seen is bad to death. We've certainly, that ground has been covered and plowed and covered again. But what hasn't been discovered as much is, who's hiring these people? What are they telling them? What training is going on? Is there any training going on? How are the big publishers making sure people are successful in the roles they're hired for? And I mean, from the outside looking in, it often seems like very little to none. And, that to me ultimately sets up a bigger failure than a lot of the things we talk about on a day-to-day basis. It's a hidden failure, but it's one that a lot of this stuff springs from. A lot of the little micro problems that people get frustrated about on day-to-day seem to spring from the same well. So promotion of books, it's an important job. It's something that needs to happen in comics. It's something that needs to go on. And it's whose responsibility is it? Well, everyone's. If you're a creator, you want to build your career. And building your career means doing some self-promotion. If you work in any industry, from medical to technology to owning a shop to whatever you happen to be doing, self-promotion is important. It's being in the game. It's managing your career. You can't expect a company to manage your career for you. They may do things to help you in your career. They may do things to make your job easier or benefit you. Awesome. That's all very good. But ultimately, your career is your career. And so if you want to be in control of that, then you should do some promotion. It is your job for yourself. And, being a good company person, I think, is also a good skill to have. So anyway, that's my take on it. What do you think? Where do you land on promotion? Do you notice any of this stuff? Is there somebody who does it better or worse? Would love to know kind of some examples of some people. Sean Gordon Murphy's, he's writer artist combo. He does a decent amount of well, more than a decent. He does a lot of good self promotion, and people respond well to it. So there's somebody. But who else do we have? List it in the comments below. Like, subscribe if you feel like it. If you'd like to hear more, would love to have you. Follow me on Twitter at Comic Perch, and thanks for listening.